Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake, coming to you with episode 3 of the exploits of Necrozma-Garbodor. Today's episode will feature a couple of different matchups with Volcanion EX decks, and before we get into that, I do want to mention a couple of things about the deck. So, I'm still running with the exact list that we showed in the previous videos, and so is Seagrove, but we both agree that the Potown edition, that stadium, isn't really pulling its weight because it slows the deck down. It makes things a little bit less consistent, and that's just not worth it overall. It does still help with those evolution matchups, but there are better options overall. So if I would recommend going back to his initial video and looking at the list he had there, or making adjustments of your own. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and dig into some matches. So, as promised, we see the classic Fire, Water, Psychic typing that usually indicates Volcanion. It could actually also be, since they added colors, it could be a Espeon deck with evolutions still in there. But that's not the case here, as we can obviously see from the sleeves, and as we'll see here in just a moment. I go ahead and start Necrozma because I don't have much choice here. That's not really ideal, but it'll do. And we get a couple of mulligans. This one's just energy, this one's a Scorched Earth and Fire energy and supporters. So we're back to being pretty sure about it being Volcanion. We'll definitely take advantage of the mulligans, but all we get is extra energy and an elixir. So here we can do a couple of things. We can Lele and get like a Brigette or something, or we can just use Ultra Ball to get out of Pokemon. I choose to go ahead and use Ultra Ball, and I decide to discard Guzma and 1 energy. I think that's probably the right decision. We can use that to look at our board state, check our prizes, which is what I'm doing now. We see, and then I choose to get another Necrozma. Okay, I looked at a couple of my prizes. I should have looked at more, but I didn't. Bad Jeffrey. So what we will do is play a Max Elixir. It hits, thankfully. Then we'll play another energy directly onto the benched Necrozma. And then we can use Lele and get a supporter. I'm thinking here I could use Guzma, but I also kind of want to use Guzma next turn. My thinking is that I may just take a KO on turn 2 using my benched Necrozma. So here I'm trying to decide what to get. I choose Brigette to develop Pokemon placement, but in retrospect, part of me kind of likes getting a Lillie there, so we have more cards to work with next turn. I think that's slightly superior, because we're not really in a lot of trouble here. I debate whether to get 2 Trubbishes or a Trubbish and a Koko. I like the Trubbish and Koko spread for now. Wob will be good, because once we GX, Wob's damage is just huge. We do see a Baby Volt come out. We see a Nest Ball for a 3rd Volcanion EX. And now if we had been thinking about using our normal attack for a 1-hit KO, we'll probably GX first. I still think that the play before would have been better as a Lillie instead of a Brigette. Our opponents steamed up a couple of times, got a Float Stone, and is hitting us for 80 with those 2 steam ups. That's fine. We see a couple of energy come down, and we top deck an additional energy. So we're going to go ahead and play down the Garbodor here, just to kind of threaten to turn off abilities. And then we will go ahead and Guzma to get our powered up Necrozma into the active, and to potentially slow our opponent down as well. We're going to use our GX to spread that 100 damage on each of his Volcanion EXs and go from there. So they're all over halfway gone now, which is obviously huge for us. And we'll see what develops. Our opponent attaches an additional energy and has a Float Stone in hand. Then they play their VS Seeker. So, getting a Sycamore, that's fine. Obviously, we don't know their hand, but what we're seeing is a lot of item cards. And that'll be good for us later on if we can develop another Garbodor in the Trashalanche vein. Once something presumably gets KO'd, that'll be nice. Obviously, having a dead hand here is pretty bad. We're going to rely on top decks more than we'd like. But we do get a Float Stone. So we can do a couple things. We can attach the float to Garb and turn off abilities. We can attach it to the active and retreat into Wob, which is almost the same thing as turning off abilities. And that's what I decided to do that, to attach and retreat into Wob, so that we just get some time to recover from the fact that we have a dead hand. He can, with Wob in the active, unless he does a Lysander play, he can only hit for 20 until he gets manual attachments in. So hopefully that'll give us a couple of turns to recover from our dead hand. He does find another Float Stone. That's his third Float Stone out there. So he may be looking now to get an energy attached manually and bring out one of his Volcanion EXs to hit us hard. That is indeed what has happened. And he takes a KO on Wob. That's unfortunate. That was definitely a possibility, but we would have far preferred to have him KO almost anything else. Potentially, like losing Koko would probably have been better there, but it's still not bad. So at this point, I'm debating whether to try to start building, just adding damage everywhere with Koko, or to take a KO with Necrozma. I'd kind of like to get off one more hit with Koko, because at that point, everything is in range of being one hit KO'd with Necrozma just having one energy attached. That said, I go ahead and attach Necrozma for the other reason, that A, we can take the KOs here, B, we can go ahead and get some prizes, and C, now that we have the DCE on there, we can come back in and follow up KOs. Given that we're doing this though, I think it might have been better to attach the DCE to the benched Necrozma, or even attach the Psychic to the bench. So as is, if you can find one fire energy, he gets to take a KO on Necrozma in the active. That would have been the case either way, but we lose the DCE. So that was a minor mistake. Maybe not so minor. That was definitely a mistake, though. I think the play previously was to actually attach either DCE to Koko and spread, or attach Psychic to the benched Necrozma. I think either option there is equally applicable. And then I played the Potown down. I didn't even talk about it, but that was just to clear our hand, because I'm probably going to end up inning this coming turn. So we do see Volcanion get his energy and come out to take a KO. And again, this is why it would have been better to have attached differently the previous turn. I don't know what I was thinking, especially with the Float Stone on there. We get a Choice Band. I'm going ahead again, thinning our hand, and I go ahead and bench the Espeon. So there are two reasons for that. I'm looking to see if we actually get Espeon powered up, we can take KOs with Espeon. And it's one-hit KOs with a Choice Band. And then if we're able to get Garb in place to shut down abilities, or if our opponent just can't find energy, which is likely as he gets further into his deck, further into the game, suddenly it becomes actually somewhat likely that he can only take 2-hit KOs on Espeon. So that's what I'm looking to sort of achieve here. If we had attached differently a couple of turns ago, everything would be going much more smoothly for us. At this point, I decided to just go ahead and click done, because we can't do anything. So we're counting item cards. We've got a fair number in play. And we see our opponent play Rescue Stretcher to get back a Baby Vulcan, another EX. And then Shaman comes out. This is a really late game Shaman. It's kind of strange to see Shaman so late. Most builds that play Shaman try to do so much faster to get that turbo KO. And our opponent, Lysander's up our benched Necrozma and takes the one-hit KO. Okay, so we play the Max Elixir. Our opponent says well played, and they're saying that as if they have this game locked up, but they don't. And in fact, we kind of, it's if we don't hit this turn, it's sort of a lock. But the fact that they were being snotty sort of made me want to play it out anyway. If we'd hit a DC here, we actually probably have game. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I did play the in to get him down to one card, just to make it more likely that we'd be able to achieve something. And then now we're going to retreat into Lele, so that Lele can take a hit, and then we're going to try to retreat from Lele into something else. Our opponent gets Field Blower and is able to take off the Choice Band and the Float Stone, but there's no real way that they can steam up because they only have one card, and it's not enough regardless of whether it's energy or not. So here the question is, do we want to attach or just Sycamore it away? And the reason I went with Sycamoring it away is that we could potentially get a float or a switching card, so we don't need to attach to Lele. And obviously I was hoping against hope that we would get a DCE or an Elixir so that we can power up Espeon. That didn't happen, unfortunately, but we will go ahead and play down a few other cards. At this point we are completely just delaying the inevitable, but again, our opponent jumping the gun really made me want to just make this, play it out as much as possible. Go ahead and, we'll probably, well, we could potentially have gotten a KO. I don't know why I attached to Lele there. I think that here I meaninglessly decide to Miraculous Shine even though it does nothing. But I think the play there was probably to attach to Garb and play the switch, or attach to Trubbish and play the switch. But I didn't do that for some reason. I'm not sure why. And then here, I go ahead and get an Ultra Ball, but fail the Ultra Ball, just trying to get, actually, well, I probably don't fail it, I probably grab, like, the last Trubbish. Okay, I grabbed the last Lele. Should have grabbed the last Trubbish here. And you can see, wasting that attachment on Lele, I could be taking a KO with Garb here. But I can't because of, well, I guess 4 cards in deck, I was almost certainly going to get the double colorless, and we'd definitely be able to take a follow-up KO next turn with Garb. So if only we had gotten any piece of this one turn earlier, our opponent's snotty, well played, would have given him his just desserts. But we were just one turn too slow, and we made a couple of mistakes along the way. And with that, we'll wrap up this match. Okay, as promised, we're back with Game 2, and here we see Water, Fire, and Psychic. No colorless, so that is even more indication that it's straight up Volcanion. Spoiler alert, we don't get a much better start than we had last time. It's a little better. We have the Float Stone. Although attaching a float means that we can't attach a choice band, so that's a mixed bag for sure. We do get a Koko to start spreading if that's the direction we end up taking. I am going to attach the float here and then retreat into Koko. I'm wanting to get that Max Elixir onto our Necrozma, sort of the same thing we did last game. And then I'm left with the decision of whether we Ultra Ball or not. You know, we could have played the switch so that we could still play a Choice Band onto Necrozma, and that would have been a better play. But here we're just going to Ultra Ball, and I think we want to Ultra Ball for a draw supporter. And we do. We're getting Lillie because it's turn 1, and she'll give us 8 cards. And we've got some decent stuff going on. I'm going to go ahead and bench Wob, just for the potential. At any point we want to, we can shut off abilities. And we'll see what our opponent is able to accomplish. We see a Professor's Letter come down. Getting 2 energy. And not a lot else is going on. Either our opponent has a lot of things going on in their hand and is really trying hard to make a decision, or not. Well, we do see a Volt come out. Takes a Steam Up. Plays down a second Volk. And a Float Stone onto one of the benched Volcanions. And then a Sycamore. So I guess he was just trying to decide what he wanted to do. He did discard a Ho-Oh there. So that's kind of interesting. I would think that Ho-Oh could be a good play, but maybe he thinks that because he can't get that turn 1 attachment through Kawaii, he wanted to just go ahead and do this with Volcanions instead. We see an additional Ultra Ball for a 3rd Volcanion, and another steam up. So he steamed up all the way to take the KO with Baby Volcanion. And here I decide to promote Wob and turn off the ability for him to steam up. I'm of a mixed mind about that. I do go ahead and attach DCE to Necrozma, and then I think I like this though. We go ahead and once again strand one of his Volcanions in the active. Of course, you know, as we all know, lots of Float Stones in Volcanion, so it's very possible that he'll have a way out of this. But with having the DC on there already, we know that we will never have to discard all three energies to take KOs. And that's certainly a good thing for us. Our opponent gets more cards in play and then plays an in. More tools, I guess, with the Choice Band. And he's going to be able to do some damage on Necrozma. With the Choice Band, if he had gotten 3 steam ups, that would have been 20, 50, plus 90, so 140. So we weren't actually in danger of getting KO'd there, but it was a little close. I go ahead, I bench the Koko again. I'm attaching to the Wob with the choice and with the energy here. I slightly debated about the energy because we're going to want to reattach to Necrozma. But what I'm going to do is play Lele, get Guzma, and then we're going to take a KO on on the Float Stone Volcanion with energy. So this way, he has to actually come back, and of course we play Koko so that we can free retreat. This way, his attacker next turn won't be able to attack again if he promotes the Volcanion with energy. Of course, he starts off with the free retreater. That's fine. And we'll see if he has the energy to attack with Volcanion or not. We almost don't care. Because really, Wob is a better attacker for us right now than Necrozma, just because of the Float Stone and because of Wob's attack. It's just that good. So, what do we see happen? We get a steam up. We get a Lele. And nobody knows what Lele's gonna get. Let's see what helps him the most here right now. I think if I were him, I'm tempted to think just draw supporter. Oh, Kiawe. So we are getting the Kiawe. I don't like that. Oh, he got Kiawe, but then he played Skyla for a field blower. Okay, I don't like any of that. So if he field blows away our Float Stone, that means that with 1 energy attachment, Necrozma is able to take KOs if Necrozma lives this. So he has, I think we'd live through this unless he steams up again. Yep, he's short 20. But he gets some energy attached. I mean, I think it's better that he did what he did than if he had played Kiawe, because that just slows him down too much, and whatever he attaches the energy to, we would KO. But I think that there are better options than the field blower play. Field blower play opens us up to like far too many ways to improve our situation. So I go in and check our discard, trying to decide whether or not to play the Super Rod. And I guess I should say, I believe I should play the Super. I think the play here is actually Super Rod, get the energies and I guess the Koko back, and then try to get one Max Elixir off at least. But I didn't do that. And this isn't bad by any means. So we get a Psychic Energy this way. And I go ahead and attach it to the Trubbish because he does have a lot of items in his discard by this point. So we're going to go for Trashalanche. I hit again with the Elixir and attach to the Wob, who is also going to have a lot of damage against everything, against the Volcanions. The more we can weaken them with Tapu Koko, the more everything else can take a one-hit KO. But I think that we were in slightly better shape if we had Super Rodded the energies back in. We're certainly not in bad shape now, though. After this we do get a Choice Band to help us out. And we still have an Ultra Ball, so we can get the Trashalanche Garbodor. I'm pretty sure that I'm not 100% sure, actually. Part of me thinks that's the play, but I guess really first things first, we want to go ahead and we want to be continuing to spread damage for the time being. So we get Trashalanche set up, and I was considering attaching the Choice Band there, but I figure in the case that he, ends it away, we're still okay. I think Garb takes a KO regardless. I'm trying to remember his exact item count. Obviously, if I was playing this live, I'd just check, but I'm not. We see him Super Rod 1 energy and then a couple more Pokemon back in. I assume he's now going to get the Volcanion out. But I don't think that this is worthwhile for him. And I don't understand what he's doing with the Ho-Oh. So we are 2 flying flips away from winning the game if nothing else happens. That's certainly nice. And our opponent, still not sure what they want to do. I think I've always thought I was one of the slowest players in the game because I take so much time trying to think through all the different options, but this guy may have me beat. So what do we see? He brings out Turtonator. So Turtonator's got 150 HP left. Now I do count the items. So we've got 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8's enough for Garb to take a KO. So there's that. I do go ahead. I attach the Choice Band. Do I do it to Koko? No. Okay. If anything, I think maybe it's better on Koko since Garb takes a KO anyway. But this way Garb will one-hit KO, I think, everything he has. Right, 8, that's 160 plus 30. So yeah, we will take KOs against even the fresh Volcanion if you were for some reason to promote it. But if he sends up the Volc-EX, then we just send up Wob. Obviously, I'm not talking about this Volcanion. This one doesn't have enough energy to attack. But anything he does, he's going to be KO'd next turn. I guess if he sends up the baby, then it takes us 2 turns, but no sweat off our back. So, okay, since we have this pretty much locked up, I went ahead and sped up the rest of the match just to save a little time since our opponent is taking their time with decisions even more than I would do. We see tools get attached kind of everywhere. I'm not sure what that does him, but I guess he's going to Sycamore, so we want to just get him out of his hand. That's fine. So if he comes up and KOs Garb with the Volc, we KO with Wop. He attaches an energy and steams up, so he's going to take the KO with the baby Volcanion. And that's fine. Okay, so Wob cannot KO the baby. So I think our win condition now is actually to do spread damage. I wanted to check here. Main thing I was looking for, I wanted to see our energy counts, and I wanted to verify what Pokemon we had left. Since we have a Koko, this is how we can win. We're gonna go ahead and flying flip, and we spread damage to bring the both benched Volcanions up to 160. And the next turn, as long as we have an energy, we can spread again with the benched Koko. He may play an in. We only have 2 cards, but he may in us, in which case we, have an okay chance. It's around 50-50 to hit one of 5 energy cards that's in the deck. I think it's 6 cards actually. Two chances at one, actually 3 chances at one of 6 cards. That's at least 50-50, probably more than that. And we do hit it, so I'm not sure what he was looking to get off that in, but he went ahead and conceded when he didn't get whatever he was trying to find. So with that, we'll wrap things up for today. If you enjoyed these matchups, please like, comment, subscribe. If you see mistakes that I didn't see, definitely comment, because that's the biggest reason that I'm doing these videos, is to try to get better. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks.